Next news. Breaking news from the White House.
Tonight, a bombshell from inside the Trump administration. A huge chunk of America's meat supply is tied to foreign ownership, monopoly power, and a system that's been crushing ranchers while hammering your grocery bill. This is not some obscure farm policy fight. This is about who controls the food on your family table. Secretary Brooke Rollins is sounding the alarm, and the Department of Justice says major action is days away. If foreign-linked meat giants can dominate what Americans eat, then who really controls the country when supply chains get tight? Now think about what this means for your real life. You go to the store, you see beef, chicken, pork, and turkey prices never seem to make sense. You're told that's just the market. What if it's not the market at all? What if a tiny cluster of giant processors, including companies with major foreign ownership, has been squeezing ranchers on one end and consumers on the other? See, Rollins lays it out clearly. Just 4 meat packers control about 85% of the U.S. processing market. USDA figures show that concentration exploded from 25% in 1977 to 71% by 1992, and now it's even worse. That means fewer buyers for cattle producers, weaker negotiating power, more risk when plants shut down, and even more leverage in the hands of corporations that do not answer to the American people. President Trump's been warning for years that if America does not control its essentials, America becomes vulnerable. Energy, borders, manufacturing, medicine, and now food. This is the America First doctrine in plain English. If you do not control your supply chain, you do not control your future. And that brings us to another front in President Trump's push to secure the foundations of American independence. This breaking news from the White House: they just announced over $30 billion to secure America's critical mineral supply chains, named a specific Alaskan project as a key strategic asset for U.S. mineral independence. I've been to the Vizsla copper drilling site myself. I've seen it with my own eyes. But what's happening right now in Alaska is bigger than most people realize. President Trump just unveiled Project Vault, a $12 billion strategic mineral reserve designed to stockpile essential resources and keep America strong when foreign powers try to tighten the screws. That's why investors are watching Vizsla Copper so closely. This is the kind of America First supply chain play that actually matters right now. Now pay attention, because Vizsla Copper trades in the U.S. under VCUFF, and in Canada is VCU.V. Check the exclusive briefing, because whether it's food or minerals, the message is the same. America cannot afford dependence. Now here's the part that should make everyone furious. This didn't happen overnight. For decades, consolidation was allowed to steamroll independent producers while Washington just looked the other way. But the Trump administration's not looking away. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says the DOJ has already reviewed more than 3 million documents and contacted hundreds of people across the industry. Translation: this is not talk. This is a full-scale crackdown, and a historic settlement tied to protein prices is coming within days. Here's the Secretary Rollins talking about these. I had no idea this was going on. This is going to blow your mind, guys.
The consolidation in U.S. meatpacking has led to just 4 meatpackers: JBS, a Brazilian-owned company; Cargill, Tyson Foods, and National Beef, another Brazilian company. Those 4 companies monopolize about 85% of the U.S. processing market today. But it hasn't always been that way. The rate of this 4-firm control has accelerated since the 1970s. According to USDA data, concentration for cattle slaughter of these 4 was only 25% in 1977 and jumped to 71% by 1992. As mentioned today, it is an astounding 85%. Notably, these 4 firms now own together more than 70 subsidiary companies today. They don't own them together, but in total, there are 70 subsidiary companies that are owned by these 4. This has led to a frightening landscape for cattle ranchers. Industry consolidation reduces options for our ranchers looking to sell their cattle. It weakens their negotiating power, and it risks reliance upon a single buyer. Today, the concentration of larger plants opens the door to tighter coordination by the Big Four with producers, and perhaps the exertion of control over them as well, given they have limited options to sell their cattle. As ranchers face fewer options for selling their animals, the Big Four grow stronger and stronger. These companies now have an unprecedented ability to wield market power and influence prices paid for cattle, definitely more so than if we had greater competition. On top of that, half of these meatpacking giants, including the largest meat packer in the world, are either foreign-owned or have significant foreign ownership and control, making them a threat not just to our cattle producers, but a threat to America itself. And as time has gone on, it becomes more and more clear that food security is truly national security. One Brazilian-owned company holds roughly a quarter of the market and has a documented history of international corruption and illicit activity. The brutal reality is that such foreign ownership of meat packers has been affiliated not just with corruption, but also cartels and, as recent as last week, slave labor, which is bad enough on its own, but it's also to the detriment of America's great independent ranchers and consumers. Further, when just 4 firms control a market, suppliers and food prices are rocked heavily when disruptions occur. The last few years have proven that the protein sector, especially, and therefore our food security, is especially at risk when global pandemics, animal disease outbreaks, and facility issues like fires, labor disputes, foodborne illnesses, and cybersecurity attacks occur. As an example, in 2019, a fire at a Tyson slaughter plant in Kansas resulted in a 27% drop in cattle traded on the market just that following week. And in 2021, a cyber attack on JBS plants in the U.S. caused ripple effects and delayed production. President Trump is acutely aware of these challenges, as evidenced by his Truth Social directive last November, directing the Department of Justice to investigate the Big Four meat packers for potential collusion and price manipulation. Ensuring these practices do not happen will protect both producers and consumers.
So that's just the beginning. Rollins laying out the threat plainly. Foreign-controlled meat giants are squeezing ranchers and putting America's food supply at risk. Now an American cattle producer steps into back Trump's crackdown and says it best: where there's beef, there is freedom.
My name is Shad Sullivan, and I am an American cattle rancher. My family and I derive 100% of our income from the beef and cattle industry. First of all, I'd like to thank Jesus Christ for his favor on this nation for 250 years. America 250. Let's go. I'd also like to thank President Trump and his administration, including the Department of Justice, USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins, for fighting on behalf of the American people and returning to the founding principles to defend liberty and freedom. For too long, farmers, ranchers, and American consumers have suffered at the hands of consolidated power. Just in the last generation, we have lost 665,000 beef cattle in operations, which is 50% down from 1980. We have also lost 86,000 farmer feeders, which is 1,000 head and below. This has been driven by years of mergers and acquisitions of multinational corporations and foreign meat conglomerates. That has created a level of economic and political power that too often escapes oversight and accountability. As a result, unrestrained market control by these powerful corporations has increased input costs for producers, decreased profitability, and forced many to become price takers. While at the same time, this market control drives up costs for consumers. President Trump's recognition that this level of concentration has possibly led to market control and manipulation, political leverage, and vulnerabilities in our supply chains and food security is crucial to upholding our sovereignty and safety in this nation. Restoring a fair marketplace, rebuilding a resilient American food system, and protecting the food security of this nation are critical in securing an integral marketplace that strengthens rural America, supports local economies, and ensures consumer affordability. Today signals that these concentrations concerns are being taken seriously. We respect the process, and we applaud the Trump administration for taking steps forward to restore a fair and competitive marketplace for American producers and consumers. I will reiterate that food security is national security, and I submit to you today, where there is beef, there is freedom. May God bless America, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Where there is beef, there is freedom. He makes it clear. Now here's Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche saying Trump's DOJ is already into the antitrust probe. Oh boy, this is not what I expected today.
As you all know, last November, the president tasked the department to investigate the costs and prices of beef. As a result, we prioritized investigating potential antitrust violations in U.S. cattle and beef markets. In the beef industry, the big four processors control over 85% of the beef processing market. Two of the big four are primarily foreign-owned. Multiple plant closures across the country, the current market structure, and high concentration in the industry indicate anti-competitive activity. Since the president's executive order, the department has been actively investigating with a review of over 3 million documents. Hundreds of industry participants, including ranchers, cattlemen, producers, and processors, have been contacted and many interviewed as part of this ongoing investigation. More broadly, the department has also executed on the president's executive order to stop anti-competitive behavior in the broader food supply market. Later this week, we will be announcing an historic settlement that will directly affect the prices of proteins like chicken, pork, and turkey. This business model allows competitors to exchange competitively sensitive information on every aspect of the protein industry and has raised the prices on chicken, raised the prices on pork, and raised the prices on turkey.
So there you have it. See, this is the big reveal. The fight is about more than cattle. Blanche confirmed the Justice Department is executing on President Trump's order to stop anti-competitive behavior across the broader food supply market, with direct effects expected on chicken, pork, and turkey prices. That means the administration is moving beyond speeches and into enforcement. And then came the voice the media never wanted amplified. An American rancher, Shad Sullivan, praising President Trump, the USDA, and the DOJ for finally defending producers and consumers. He said food security is national security, and he's right. Where there is beef, there is freedom, because a nation that cannot feed itself is a nation that can be controlled. So let's sum this up nicely here. Foreign influence in meatpacking has now been exposed. Monopoly power in the food chain has been targeted. Trump administration action already underway. This is what America First looks like when it gets serious. Not slogans, not excuses, results. For too long, ranchers were squeezed, family operations disappeared, and consumers paid the price while corporate giants got richer. Now President Trump and his team are taking the fight straight to the supply chain where real power lives. The political class tolerated this for years. The Trump administration is confronting it head on. If you believe America should control America's food supply, share this report right now. Comment below, yes or no, should foreign-linked companies be allowed to dominate U.S. meat processing? Subscribe if you want the stories the corporate media won't touch. Text RAW FEED to the number on the screen, 844-840-4963. That's the secret number we have set up just for you so you can beat the algorithm, get direct notifications from me to your phone when YouTube fails you. Make sure you check out the next news merch shelf below this video. Stay loud, stay proud, and stay free.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.